Secretly recorded from deep inside the bowels of a decommissioned missile silo, we bring you the man, one single man who wants to bring light to the darkness and dark to the lightness. Although he's not always right, he is always certain. So now, with security protocols in place, the protesters have been forced back behind the barricades and the blast doors are now sealed. Without further delay, let me introduce you to the host of Hutcast, Mr. Tim Hutner.
Thank you, Sergeant-at-Arms. You can now take your post.
Today on Hutcast, we're going to cover a couple of subjects today. First of all, COVID shot mandatory, job removal. What am I seeing? Next is the R.P.M. Act. For you motorheads out there, R.P.M. Act is kind of a big thing. And now, community involvement. And you. What are you responsible for? Stand by, Hutcast. We'll be right back.
For home and workplace comfort, we here at Dependable Heating and Air Conditioning have over 30 years of residential and commercial experience in replacing, repairing, and doing general maintenance on your heating and cooling equipment. Call the experts at Dependable Heating and Air Conditioning. For all your indoor comfort needs, we are located in Coon Rapids and serve the entire Twin Cities area. Call one of our professional technicians today at 763-757-5040. That's Dependable Heating and Cooling. Again, 763-757-5040, Dependable Heating and Air.
Welcome to Hutcast. I hope you all enjoyed the last series, the mini-series, and boy, what a great job he did, too. Gene German knocked it out of the park. A lot of things I learned. Hopefully you learned some things as well. We got another one coming out after that. That will be the insurance show, which will be releasing very soon, and what to and what not to do during a storm damage and your insurance. We had a contractor come in. He's one of our golden sponsors, and he says, here's how we do this. Here's what to watch for, people. Don't get yourself in that position where you're like, the insurance companies take advantage of you, etc. What a good show. So today's show is going to be about, well, the first segment here is going to be about the COVID shot. Yeah, we've talked about COVID before in the past. But today, we're going to have a little different conversation. I was in a nursing facility for a relative, and I just had to walk by this big billboard. Basically, it's where the shut down, don't drink out of our water area COVID type of thing. And I'm just like, okay. So we've got all these things shut down, so people can't drink. You got to go from a cup. I don't know what the difference is, but anyway, they were shut down. And in front of it, it had a employee information area. In this area, they come in, they sign in, they do their, I suppose their punch in, punch out type of thing. But on this board, and I'll reiterate to you. Now, I'm not going to name this nursing home, this assisted care facility. I'm just going to leave that out of it. But know that this is in one of them, and I can assume it's in the rest of them. And again, the people who are in these are certainly at risk. So let's not ever underplay that. But it says here, attention all employees. A mandatory testing COVID-19, Monday, September 13th and 15th, in a specific room at 0700 to 1100 and 1300 to 1600. Now, here's what it says in this here. Now, they had this posted next to them by the mandate COVID-19 vaccination. And this was set up by the Volunteers of America, National Services, Mask Up, Vaccinate, Saves Lives, Stop the Vaccine. No, it says Stop the Spread, Vone Strong. I don't even know what that means. But I'll read to you what it says. For the safety of our residents, which I agree, clients and staff requiring COVID-19 vaccination. Okay. Requiring COVID-19 vaccination. I want you to pause on that And then all employees as well as volunteers and contractors providing direct services are required to be fully vaccinated with the COVID-19 vaccine by October 15th, 21. All employees, as well as volunteers and contractors providing. Okay, let's dip into the contractors part for a second there. They contract their food services out to people who bring in all kinds of stuff because you can't, it's a big thing for them. So does that include delivery drivers? Are we talking about the FedEx guy who comes in and brings stuff in? Okay, moving on. All doses of the COVID-19 vaccine must be completed on or before October 1, 21. Employees will need to show human resources proof of vaccine from the pharmacy and or healthcare provider. Germany, 1939. Ring a bell? Because it's like ringing a bell for me right now. And again, I'm not an anti-vaxxer, certainly not. But I am anti-take away my rights so that your rights feel better. Email questions to vaccine@voa.org. Email questions. All right, well, this ain't where it ends. So hang on to your bootstraps now, because here's where this goes. Vaccine policy 82621. Will I be eligible for unemployment benefits if I choose not to vaccine and am released from my position? So if you're going to get fired, will you fire me if I don't? Their answer is no. If you choose not to meet the requirements of your position and do not qualify for a reasonable accommodation, then you will not qualify for unemployment benefits. And that's by let me zoom in on this, National Services Volunteers of America. All right, let's back up here. Then you do not qualify for unemployment benefits. So here we are. We got a state-mandated program for unemployment. They'll give it to anybody. You got a pulse and a heartbeat, and you come in off a train off of Afghanistan. I don't care where you come from. You sneeze around, they're throwing money like it's popcorn. But a working person in the facility in which you were currently employed or employed before 19, and they're going to zip you. You need to think about this, people. You don't meet the requirements of these people? Wait a minute. We didn't have a requirement. When I started, there was no requirement. Think about that. We had no requirement for this, but we're going to make one up. And again, I am not belittling the fact that this is a real thing. I believe it's a real thing. But I don't believe that somebody else's rights trumps your rights. Can't happen. It's no different than I don't like what the old president did, so the new president's going to turn it off, and we're going to make it happen. And you don't like it too bad. You got to be tolerant and typical move by the party. I hate to say it, but common sense ain't common enough, and it sure as hell ain't soon enough. But these people just did not focus and think about what they're saying here. So Texas did this last year. You don't get the shot, you get zipped. They said, see ya. And now they're whining to Congress, some Texas governor, we don't have enough staff to run our hospital. What about the nurses beforehand? They were out there on the battlefront lines. They didn't have shots, and all of a sudden these shots are available. Well, I don't know. I've heard a lot of people say these shots are pretty tough. Not everyone, but when you get hit, you're hit heavy. And a friend of mine's wife got pinched. She got the shot. It exasperated, not even knowing she had Lyme's disease problem. And now she's got some kind of a palsy in one side of her face. And it's like, hold on, guys. We're going to make you take this shot, and hopefully it don't pinch up nothing else and screw you up. I don't know. But this National Services here, who put this out for the mandate by October 15th, 21, is just incredible. Now, we have loved ones in there, in this facility, that I did not name. And I guess I'm okay with that because the loved ones got the shot and they're okay. But if they got the shot and everybody's vaccinated, why is everybody lit up? If you had the shot and you're vaccinated, Why are you worried about the guy who don't have the shot? And don't give me the argument of, well, I'm doing this because I want to love someone else so that they don't do it. And if you don't take your shot, then you don't care about the other guy. I do. But I don't care about him the way you care about him. And why should you? You take care of yourself, they'll take care of themselves, and everything will work out. But no, you got to continually impose your thoughts and beliefs on people who don't believe like you. There's where this problem starts, people. It ain't your business. What they do with their body is not your business. As for what they do with theirs is not mine. But here we are. We're in this crap sandwich, just like the other communities in the world. If you don't, tolerate and agree with us, then we're going to just be this thing. Now, back to 1939 Germany. You had to prove papers. At what right does that not stamp on? You can't go to a person's graduation for their dental academy without proof of papers. Step one, people. Now, let me rephrase that. Step two. Step one is getting away with it, and they're still doing that. Now, step two is you will comply, or here's what we'll do. We'll start pinching your freedoms one by one until you comply. Think about that one. Don't pinch me. This is not your life to pinch. There's a lot of people that died in foreign wars, in wars that we shouldn't have been in, but yet there we are, in wars that we liberated people from people like this. If we liberated we got listeners all over the world, and if we liberated your ancestors from this, and they're starting this stuff up again in your country, think about it. What's the difference? It's just not freedom. Freedom is a hard-earned fickle bitch, and you have to keep it happy. You have to keep it real. You have to keep this freedom so true to you in its purest form. And I'm sure I'll get emails from you guys. Oh, don't worry. I'll get plenty of emails. I'll get Facebook messages. If your country is going through this, we're in 40 countries. We have over 75,000 downloads. And the show's doing good, thanks to you. And for listening to some guy who just wants to give you some information and learn from it, we appreciate you listening. So if this is happening in your country, in your city, in your town, in your life, listen to what I'm saying. Listen to my words. You can hear me now and listen to me later, but eventually you must stand up and rise. And after the fact is not a stand up. That's a comply. If you want to get the shot, good for you. If you don't, good for you. But if you impose your will on someone who don't want to get a shot, bad for you. It will be very bad for you. So, podcast believes that in freedom of all, and especially the guys who don't think that we shouldn't have the freedom of the choice, i.e. our current president. Let's see here. Moving this on. For those considering COVID-19 vaccine, is it the right time for you? This was also on their board. Information number of these timing between doses. Okay, so they tell you which, the Moderna, the Pfizer, the BioNTech, Johnson & Johnson, how far they got to go between them. Let's say the Moderna. Here it is. 2 shots administered 4 weeks apart, full immunity. Response 2 weeks after the second admission. To reach full immunity by October 15th. Last day to receive dose 1 is 9/3/21. Last day to receive second dose is 10/1/21. Okay, here's the Pfizer one. Now, if you guys don't know, you can always Google this, but if you're listening here, probably a little easier. 2 shots series administered 3 weeks apart, full immunity. Response is 2 weeks after the second administration. To reach full immunity by October 15th, blah, blah, we don't care. Johnson & Johnson, single administration, full immunity, second week after administration. Wow. Just wow. I mean, I'm a big 2A guy. They want to try and pinch on those, and now they want to pinch on this vaccine stuff. I don't know. You know what, you guys, you have plenty of avenues to express yourself and to write your congressman, write your, I don't know what they are in different countries, but maybe your government, and say, if we're going through this, shouldn't we have a freedom of choice? Now, again, I am not an anti-vaxxer, by no means necessary. They need to prove a little more to me before you start pushing stuff at you. Again, this friend's wife who really got screwed up with this because she didn't know that she had another underlying condition, and just talked to her yesterday, and she's in a tough way. So we're hoping for her speedy recovery. We greatly appreciate what she does for our community, and here we are with this. She's got to deal with this. All right, guys, we are 14.05 seconds into this, and we're going to come back and we're going to talk about the R.P.M. Act. Who is it made for, and really, what does it do for you? If you're a motorhead, you'll get it. If not, then you know what? Hey, just skip to the next one, and we'll talk about community involvement in you, and what is your civic responsibility. Stand by for Hutcast.
Now a word from our sponsors. Today's sponsor in part by Excel Roofing. Excel Roofing, they do it all. Roofs, siding, framing. You need a house? Give Excel a call. I've used these guys personally in the past. Have a professional crew. They're conscious of your job, and they want to produce the finest quality of craftsmanship available. Excel Roofing, 763-712-0757. Again, 763-712-0757. Excel Roofing, Dayton, Minnesota.
All right. Hey guys, we're back with Hutcast. And again, our next segment here is going to be the R.P.M. Act. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to read you the mission statement from SEMA. SEMA is a Special Equipment Market Association. Now, if you're not a motorhead, I'm kind of a motorhead. I'm going to tell you little things about motorheads that even most motorheads don't know. The Emissions Act, back in 73, and then they brought it up to speed in 82, 81-ish, and you've seen all the emissions routings and hoses and all this crap, and they had to pass COLA and all this stuff. Well, then they started getting smarter with computers. Computers could do better things. You could get rid of the emission stuff. Technology changes, and now you got a car that has very little emissions, but is very, very clean. I.e., the people who want to run around and steal your converters is they found a better palladium and platinum in the systems that can actually clean the exhaust better, but then they also clean your wallet when they steal your converter. So watch your converters, people. All right, so we're going to read this right off the SEMA website. The R.P.M. Act of 2021, which is H.R. 3281, is a common-sense bipartisan legislation to protect American rights to convert street vehicles into dedicated race cars. Dedicated. All right, we'll move on from there. Dedicated and motorsports parts industry, the ability to sell products that enable racers to compete. Remember what I said there about street vehicles? Okay, remember that. The bill clarifies that it is legal to make emissions-related changes to a street vehicle with the purpose of converting it into a race car that is used exclusively in competition. It also confirms that it is illegal to produce and market and install them racing equipment for the street. The R.P.M. Act reverses the EPA's interpretation, again, EPA government's interpretations, that the Clean Air Act does not allow a motor vehicle designed for street use, including car, truck, motorcycle, to be converted into a dedicated race car. This American tradition was unquestioned for 45 years until 2015, when the EPA took position that converted vehicles must remain emissions compliant. Well, if you're in the car world and you know that emissions-compliant vehicles don't produce power. They smuggle the power right out of them, and they mug them down, and it's just a crap sandwich there. Even though they are no longer driven on public streets or highways, although the EPA had banned the efforts to make that policy formal regulation. Or they couldn't pass it is what that is. That's code for couldn't pass. The agency still maintains the practice of modifying the emission system of a motor vehicle for purposes of converting it for racing and to sell is illegal. And let me get back to that one in a minute. Manufacturing, selling, and installing race parts for converted vehicles will also be in violation. That's another one we're going to get back to. The EPA has also announced that the efforts against the high RPM parts, or high performance RPM parts. The EPA has also announced that enforcement against high performance parts, including superchargers, tuners, exhaust systems, is a top priority. Okay, they tried this, it didn't work. How are they going to do that? Okay, we'll get back to that one. Converting street vehicles into dedicated race vehicles is an American tradition. Okay, that's hyperbole from the site. Motorsports competition involves tens of thousands of participants. More hyperbole. But they're right. I mean, there's a lot of people in the I hate to say word aftermarket, because we are not after anybody. Aftermarket is either OE or not OE. Anybody who knows me knows that that's like a pet peeve for me. 10,000 people, both amateurs and professionals. Retail sales of racing products make up $2 billion market annually. Most of the vehicles raced on the estimated 13,000 racetracks operating across the U.S. are converted vehicles that EPA considers to be illegal. That's a big one there. The R.P.M. does not interfere with the EPA's authority to enforce against individuals who illegally install race parts on vehicles that are driven on public roads and highways and companies that market such products. Okay, now we're stepping on some right to free trade there, a little FTA or FTC stuff. Tampering with the emission system on a motor vehicle used on public roads is a clear violation of the Clean Air Act. Well, Clean Air Act is another episode. We're just going to focus on this one. Look up Clean Air Act. You should probably know what that is. Let's see here. The R.P.M. Act will provide the racing community with certainty and confidence in the face of an EPA interpretation. That's code for give them an inch and they'll screw it up, of the Clean Air Act. These threaten and devastate the American pastime and eliminate jobs for our communities. All right. I read you the crap from their website. Now let's go back and decipher some of this, because I'll tell you what, I know a lot of dudes that do a lot of stuff. And SEMA is an organization. It's Special Equipment Marketing Association. It is a very worldwide program. And if you've been to PRI, if you've been to the one in Vegas, I don't even know. It's a big show. They have nothing but specialty equipment. There's literally nothing there that's OE or factory unless they are the OEs. So put that in the back of your head. If you're a racer, you know Jegs, you know Summit, you know a lot of other stuff. A lot of these companies, mill support, just stuff on top of stuff on top of stuff. And these particular companies sell a lot of information, a lot of products, a lot of tuning equipment, a lot, just you name it. They sell this stuff. So here's a segment of the world that's going to be shut off, pinched, because you can't have a race car. Well, I don't know about that. Good luck with that, because I don't know how you can. All right, let's chop this up here. HR 3281, common sense bipartisan. Well, I don't think it's common sense or bipartisan. I think they've completely screwed that up. Legislation to protect Americans' right to convert. Well, first of all, here's what you got to know about street vehicles. So if it's a street vehicle, or it was converted at one time to a race car. Now, most race cars are designed and built as a race car from a tube chassis, from a whatever. If you don't have a complete tube chassis, and a tube chassis is a bunch of pipe, you bend up and you form and fit and weld and you make a chassis. So let's say that late model guys who are race on a platform that's like a B body, which is a Chevrolet Caprice, and they race on that body. If they did that now falls under this law. You have converted a vehicle. At what point is vehicle? Define vehicle. Because there are so many holes in this HR 3281 that I could just punch through. It's that stupid. And I'm sure there's a book somewhere with about 9 million pages in there, so you can go, well, page 16. They don't even read it. The legislators that make this information do not read all the laws. So someone throws it together, some attorney gets there, some undersportsman or underclassman tells their senator, their congressman, oh, we're going to do this and this and this. Nope. It don't make sense. So back to the tearing it apart. Let's see here. Racers unable to compete. If you want to do that, and you're a NASCAR fan, you know those cars rolling around are complete fabricated cars. But yet, manufacturer sponsors, the Toyota guys, hey, I got a Toyota Camry. Hey, I got a whatever their brand they're carrying is. Now does those qualify? I'd like to see that one, because you want to start going up against NASCAR or NHRA or HARA. These guys got some muscle. And throughout the world, oh yeah. All right, so we're going to move on. Bill Fleur goes, the R.P.M. Act reverses the EPA's interpretation of the Clean Air Act. Well, if you're a motorhead and you're in the car business and you fix cars, you pretty much know what the Clean Air Act is. And I'll briefly summarize it for you. The Clean Air Act states that if you defeat or eliminate or modify, that you're in violation of a federal emissions law. Well, what they didn't say is, could you make it better? They didn't say nothing about betterment. And I haven't seen that in the news yet or in the laws. They said, well, if you can make it better, well, that's manufacturer's job. It doesn't mean you're qualified to do it, but even if it was better, now you got to go through these hoops of CARB and California Air Board Research Association and all these blah, which is pretty much prove me wrong. Preponderance of evidence, people. And you don't get that point. So staying on track here, it's stated this Clean Air Act does not allow motor vehicles designed for street use, including cars, trucks, motorcycles, be converted into a dedicated race car. Yeah, everything that came off the street is in a race car. Every car, every truck, every monster truck, everything has a streetcar heritage. So you're going to go back and you're going to say, hey, we can't do that. So what are we going to do? Build a bunch of Hummers, H4s, H5s that were designed specifically for racing? You can't do it. It'll never work. All right, moving on. This tradition has been more hyperbole. Although EPA okay, so I told you we were coming back to this. Although the EPA has abandoned efforts to make policy form a regulation. Again, that was code for didn't pass. Good luck. The agency still maintains the practice of modifying emissions systems on a motor vehicle for the purpose of converting it for racing is illegal. Bull horse hockey. It ain't illegal. It's only illegal if you strip it down and put it on the street. License it is illegal. Little story here. A lot of guys are having emissions problems with their diesel trucks, diesel cars. I don't care what it is. Now, these diesels, any car that's on the road is under interpolation of the EPA standards, the CARB Act. The manufacturers must design a system to reduce particulates so they could sell in America. So they could get their license to sell these cars. And when these guys do this, they have all kinds of hoops they got to jump through. And I really feel sorry for them, because they're the ones that are costing us money. They could make a car stupid clean and be efficient, but they still got to go through all this stuff where you got to throw parts at it. And so the diesel guys, they have, it's called a particulate system. These particulate systems are called the DEF systems, SCRs, soot reduction systems. All these systems here are in place. Now, this DEF fluid, the fluid that goes in the diesel tanks, is a very caustic fluid. It's very caustic. When it meets oxygen, it turns into crystallites. The crystallites can now plug your dosers, the injectors that put in the system, so that it helps clean the particulates out of the system, goes through a regen process. Motorhome guys, you know what I'm getting at, because you've been here if you got a newer one. And these systems are continuously failing. They can't keep them working. Well, the dealer goes, I can't keep working on these for the dealer rate or for the factory rate. I'm getting my technicians' butts kicked, and we're constantly working on these. So the dealers have made up this thing, and this thing is your checkbook. So what a dealer will do is they'll take in, you bring your truck in, SCR failure, you bring your car in, diesel, pick whatever it is. And you got to check engine light. It goes into the dealer. Dealer says, oh, yeah, dude, yeah, it's all screwed up. You did this. Well, I'm sorry. I got 4,000 miles on my truck. How does you and did this in the same sentence even work? Well, because it does this, you got to do this. And if you didn't do this. Now, here's another for instance. I got a truck, went in to the dealer. I won't say names. I'm really trying to get him to fix it. 4,000 miles. It's a year and a half old. We call that lot rot. You did this. Okay. So how do I fit in this? Well, because you didn't drive it enough. Well, how does that work? Well, you have to drive it. You got to drive it more. Well, how much is more? Because I read the manual, the official manual from the manufacturer. It didn't say nothing about you don't drive it enough. It's going to void your warranty, and you're going to pay this. They wanted me. They nicked me $1,900, $1,600 to go in there, flush this system because they said the DEF fluid was bad. So, being the guy that I am, and I happen to have a little bit of knowledge in the car area, I said, what was the fluid like? Well, I don't know, the service writer said to me. Well, if you don't know, who knows? Well, it had to be bad because it was, it was doing this. Well, what do you mean had to be bad? Yeah, it was. Now he's getting pissy with me. I said, hold on here. Did you check the viscosity of the fluid? Well, no. Did you check the clarity of the fluid? Well, no. Well, then why you hit me for $1,900? Well, because it had to be. Well, if it had to be, whose side are you on? My original thought was he's going to nick me, clean the system out, nick the manufacturer, and double dip on this deal. Being from a dealer, I have seen dealers do this, and that's why I continually got fired from dealerships, because I wouldn't play their game. The illegal, dishonest game. All right, at this point, the guy says, well, it had to be you because we can't find any other issue. I said, so in a nutshell, you're telling me that I didn't drive my truck enough, 4,000 miles, a year and a half. The fluid was bad, which you didn't check. It was contaminated, which you don't know. So it must be me. Oh, yeah. How far did that go? Didn't go too well for him at that point. At that point, I was calling the manufacturer saying, the fluid that you installed in my tank when I bought the truck is now saying that it's bad. Pump on that one for a little bit. Back to the story of cars here. See, a dealer will try and nick you when you ain't looking, and you got to watch that. Don't let the dealer control the situation. If you feel that you're in sideways, contact the manufacturer. Let the manufacturer bring it down chain and say, why are you doing this? So in the street car world, when you convert something, if you convert a car under warranty, it's your baby. They'll bounce on you in a heartbeat. They will not look back because you are now using it for the intent of racing or purposes of going faster beyond design limits. Okay, that's your choice. You will void your warranty. That's on you. Unless you buy a super hot car like the new Camaro 1ZL LEs. They're stupid fast. And they will not, and they have a warranty. So, I know a guy who's got one, great car, faster than snot. But eventually, it's going to be to the point where the emission laws are going to be hitting on that one because you took a street car, put it on according to this HR 3281. Okay, the converting street vehicles out of use, we can cover that. Let's see here. Dedicated race vehicles in America, tradition stating back, while California is known for having the strictest emission laws, the state exempts racing vehicles from this regulation. Well, even the nuts are figuring out that they shouldn't fall that far from the tree. So if they're doing it in California and they're okay with that, well, California is one of the largest producer of performance aftermarket parts. Again, I hate aftermarket, non-OE. So now you're going to take California. It don't fit my agenda because our voters are there. They employ people who build cylinder heads. They build performance pistons. They're the tolerant blocks that are very, very high-end, big money. So I don't know how that's going to fly. All right, moving on here. We covered that. Motorsports competition involves tens of thousands of participants and vehicles each year. Oh, they're right there. They're exactly right. Both amateurs and professionals, retail sales, racing products make up $2 billion. I say that's pretty light. $2 billion. Buy some of the parts I bought, and you'll understand what light is. Marketing annually. Vehicles are 1,300 racetracks. Yeah, there's a lot of tracks around here, but it's not just racetracks. It's not ovals. It's not just drag strips. It's not just SCCA. What about the dirt bikes? What about the ATVs? The racing boats? Look at the race boat guys. They blow a lot of carbon in the air. They're running a whole lot of carbon in there. They're supercharged, stupid fast. Offshore racing, that's just the touch of it. How about the race planes? Those guys are like top shelf, stupid fast, zipping between two H posts. I don't even know. I've seen them and I'm like, holy cow, these guys got some pairs. So this is a thing where you just got to pay attention, get involved, understand what they're saying. All right, next up, the R.P.M. does not interfere with the EPA's authority to enforce against individuals who are illegally selling race parts. The R.P.M. does not interfere with the EPA's authority to do so. Well, you know as well as I do, if you put a cold air kit on your car, flip the air cleaner upside down, or whatever it is, you have now modified that car from original manufacturer. Play that game. Find the right guy. Piss him off, and they will make you an example. Don't do that. Don't tell nobody. Go have your fun. Build your cars. It's your freedom to do that. As far as interfering with it, that's a tough one. That'll be a higher court issue there. And tampering with the emission system of a motor vehicle will be used on public roads is a clear violation of the Clean Air Act. Yeah, absolutely. Back to my truck stories with the particulates air cleaners that can't run. They're designed poorly. They don't have the technology to keep up with it. And then it becomes a crap sandwich between the EPA, the owner, the dealer, and the manufacturer. And usually, guys, you're on the bottom end of that stick. So hang on to your checkbook and pay attention to this. My tool guy, he runs a Snap-on truck made by, I won't say the manufacturer. Makes the same one as my truck. And they nicked him $4,000 for doing the same thing they're doing in my truck. And I called him and I said, dude, how'd they handle that? Well, they nicked me. You have a federal emissions warranty. 5 years, 100,000 miles. You got 20,000 miles on your truck. It's brand new. And he looked at me and says, you're right. I said, get your warranty out. Let's read it. And we read it, and it says, clearly, the manufacturer is responsible for everything, including defects, material workmanship, and the whole deal. People, you wonder why there's lemon law? Here it is. So when the dealers get carried away, they want to nick you. Again, maybe a double dip, maybe not. That's up to them. Know your rights. Don't be in that spot. It's not just diesel trucks. Pay attention to the cars, the hot rods, the normal people cars. All right, so the next thing here is the R.P.M. provide the racing community with certainty and confidence in the face of an EPA interpretation. Well, they're telling you right here in this act, this H.R. 3281, that if the EPA decides to, Environmental Protection Agency, decides to decipher anything or any way they can, they want to stop them from doing so. Because here's what's happening. You get some snothead who comes out of some school somewhere who thinks he's an accolade, thinking he's an engineer, and he wants to come out and say, well, according to my books, and we've all had those people at work where they think they're the stuff, and they're not. Thinking they know more than the old guys or the guys who know something. Want to put the interpretation into you. Now, once they make that, you have to undo that. You don't want to be the guy to have to undo their stupid shit. So back up, make sure, if they catch you putting these hot rod parts on cars and moving them on the street, and you go to any hot rod shop, look at the parking lot. There's usually tabs and tags on every one of those cars. Well, they ain't trailering them home. Otherwise, you wouldn't see the cars. They'd be all in trailers. Don't get yourself on a spot. If you're a shop owner, watch your six, because they will be out in force trying to do this. They did it back in the past. I've seen the late 90s, early 2000s, where the EPA is running around on everybody who has a tuner. So if you're rolling coal and you see all this black pipe coming off of a diesel, he's tuned, because new trucks don't do that. And it's a for sure going to get pinched. They send DOT out on these guys. DOT goes out on a heavy truck. So if you ain't got green fluid in your tank, your diesel's green. They're gonna nick you. They're gonna pull you out of service, and not only do they take you out of service, they're gonna put you into a category called tax evasion. So on red fuel, which is a tax that doesn't have, on red fuel, it is a fuel that doesn't have the tax on it. So literally, you buy a gallon of diesel for $1.20, where if you buy the one with the tax, it's $3.50, $4. So if you get caught with red in your tank, may the Lord and the shepherd be with you, because you don't want to be part of that tax crap. Okay, guys, we have been like 24 minutes and 7 seconds into this. I don't know if there's anything else you can do besides involve yourself, get a hold of your Congress guy, call your, who do you call? You can look up the bill as far as ACT right from the website. SEMA is out there. Who else has got this? That's about it. So it's pretty much a Save Our Race Cars, R.P.M. ACT, the United We Stand, or they call it the Ignited We Stand. It's kind of a cute spin on words. Hutcast will be back in just a moment.
I'd like to talk to you today about security, home security, business security. We here at ProTech Security care about your safety. We've been keeping honest people honest, we like to say, and give dishonest people something to think about for over 20 years. Not only provide high-tech security systems for your home and business, we also provide basic network and router management LAN and Wi-Fi for our residential customers. Support audio and video monitoring systems, card access, security systems, cellular phone amplifiers, home entertainment systems, and much, much more. We have experienced technicians that will design a system that will work for you. We are located in Osseo, Minnesota, and are waiting to design a system to meet all your specifications. That's right, ProTech Security. Give us a call, 763-493-2020. We are pro at keeping honest people honest. ProTech Security, 763-493-2020. ProTech Security Systems.
All right, guys, welcome back to Hutcast. Segment 3, we're going to cover some, civil servant, civil duty. Now, I'm not talking about military. I'm not talking about Afghanistan. I'm not talking about any of that type of stuff yet. We might cover that later. But our first talk is going to be about what is civil duty. And to me, civil duty is a involvement in yourself in the community. Start with yourself, start with the locals, so in my world, we start that community involvement. Let's take, for instance, we were at a function this weekend, and the function was a city function that had, every city has them. It's a parade, it's a fireworks show, it's a music thing, it's a thing about just being who you are and celebrating the community in which you live in. Great show. We changed some venues this year. We have some different people in place, and we rocked it. We all rocked it, and we engaged in that. We were proud of that to the point where we posted on Hatebook, and I continually say Hatebook because I don't care if you're hung with a gold rope on December 25th, Jesus' birthday. Someone's going to find something to complain about, and it's a gold rope too. So real gold, not fake. So we posted out there, and this year I was able to MC a parade, which was kind of cool. I didn't choose to, but hey, they asked, and I volunteered up, and now we are. So the Hatebook crowd wanted to pick that apart. Okay, take for instance one gal. She says, we can't have this here in the new spot. We have to have an old spot, and how dare you? And she wants to be the loudest squeaky wheel. And she's going to end up getting pinched because at that point, I'm sure the admins will delete them from the site. I don't know if you're listening, and I've already told them that you're going to get deleted. You keep being that person, and they'll just stop listening to you. The squeaky wheel just gets shut off. And then we went to, you can't have it in a new place because the old place is the heritage part, and if you don't do that, then we're not coming, and we're going to stomp your feet, and blah. We're just get to be with civil duty. All right, I'm getting to that. So now a second complaint is we had a good sound system there, and we had the color guard there. What a great show. Great city turnout. The people who actually engaged in this, and all the volunteers did an excellent job. We had one volunteer that was medically in a bad spot, and yet that person still made stuff happen. Hats off to that person. I won't say names because, it's a very small town. It's towny. But they rocked it. They did it. Everyone picked up the slack where that person couldn't, and we tried to just kick in and do it. Well, I'm the sound guy, i.e. Hutcast, and sound's kind of my thing. So this year, we were able to put up a very, very elaborate sound system. East side of town, west side of town, center of town, all air linked together. Each system is 2,000 watts. We had 6,000 watts of power. And this is real power, not including the subwoofers. We rocked this town. So one girl chimes in on the hate book. Again, hate book for a reason. Or you might call it poop book, whatever you're listening to it at. And they sit and criticize. I went, okay. The criticization was, it would have been nice to hear the announcing. And I just had to stop and go, hold on here. Hold on, let's pump these brakes. You tell me out of 6,000 watts, the loudest ever on record, town of music and vocals and everything we had, you couldn't hear this. The neighboring city could hear it, and you couldn't hear this, and you were, 100 feet away from the speakers? No, there's more to the story than that. I'm assuming. I emceed it this year because I was asked to. And again, I did it because, my city asked me. Apparently, the last MC didn't like the way it went the year before when I co-emceed it. And she called it a crap show. Okay. So you don't want to do it. And she's done it for many years, and I get her bitterness. So the right thing to do was, I tried to reach out to her. I left her messages, called her on the phone, and says, hey, look, I don't need to do this. It's on you. You go ahead. I'll just be the sound guy, and I'll make it rock from my side of it, the whole thing, and no response. Oh, okay, well, I guess you don't want to play anymore. Got it. All right, so I'll continue on my path. We get this set up. We absolutely had a great time. The weather was beautiful. The parade was awesome. The people were great. It kind of came together as communities should. Now, back to my point. The civic duty here is to go in, engage, help out. What can better this event? How can you, a person, reach out and just do something? If you can't, you really can't, or you physically don't want to, or you just don't have time, okay. But the last thing you should be doing is picking apart and bitching about the people who did do it, i.e. the civil duty of this situation. And again, I preached the common sense ain't common sense enough, and holy crap, was I right. So I reached out to this person on the hate book, and I says, this is the best one we've had in years. Well, it came back to the fact where mother, was usually the MC. And again, I explained that to you. So instead of just saying, look, I couldn't hear you, move on, they wanted to keep poking at this. And again, you guys with drama out there, you listen to this stuff. And this is all towns everywhere. There's always this thing going on. But I think we rocked it. I don't care what they think. Don't give two craps. Maybe I don't give three. I don't know. Stand in line. It doesn't mean nothing to me. But next year, I will be sure not to include them. So if my city again asks, we nod our head and we do if we can. And we have a great show, which we did this year. So again, in our city, it's a very small town. We were about 4,000, 5,000 people. So we're a very growing big city in the metropolitan area, Minneapolis. And we loved it. It was just a great deal. We got new city council members. And for the first time in how many years, the mayor actually stepped up and did something. And we won't get into the proclivities of the previous mayor. Not on this show. Well, not in this episode anyway. And maybe someday we'll talk about civic duty and your right to not destroy that for the people who put you in office. That's going to be a good one. And I could get some pretty good testimony. But either way, the point is, if you have a situation where you're called upon, and you can do this, I say do it because it's quite rewarding. It's very completing of your mental mindset, and say, look, I gave to this, I did to this. Whether you give it in funding, whether you give it in time, whether you're getting just involving yourself, was a nice option. So for me, this last weekend, it was a civic duty. I did the job. We knocked it out of the park. We had a great time. Others had a great time. Others supported us. And we just we did the deal. I mean, how much better can be than that? So we are also going to have some people on this show that are mayors and cities and people, and we're going to talk to them about things like this on a regular basis. And if we can, again, it won't mean nothing to you guys who are out in the middle of nowhere and middle of everywhere, but it's just a for instance of how towns work, people work, city works, government works. Also, I'm going to try and get a senator back on. We're going to talk about redistricting of the Minneapolis area, which is a nice option, and we'll get some people on that. So we are like 10 minutes of this. I want to keep this whole segment short. Have a good rest of your evening, people. I appreciate you chiming in. Again, as usual, you can find all our stuff on Hatebook for the Hutcast. You can leave notes, messages. The Canadian people, I'll tell you what, you guys have been great. Yes, listener number 17247. I got it. We'll fix that issue. I know you're probably listening to this episode, and thank you for that. The people out in Djibouti, hope you're still listening. The numbers have been light this week. The African guys have been just a great supporter. Let's see what else. We've got the guys in Germany. The Germany guys, yeah. So Mrs. M, we're trying to get her back in here. So the Germany guys, the Austrian guys in that part of the world, yes, to answer your questions, we do plan on getting her back in here. And we'll hear some more stories from her. The Australian guys, no, we can't do any street racing up here. It's just not, you might be able to do that in Australia, but we got to do it very carefully around here because it's just too crowded. So yes, we should have a show on street racing, but not in the near future. Pay attention to the last segment about the R.P.M. Act and how our government's trying to pinch down on the guys who are building hot rods like you guys do it out there. Okay, so it covers them. It's got the east side, west side. Yeah, I think that's about it for Hutcast. We'll have some more show people on. I want to get to a special guest from the Lemon Law Association here in Twin Cities. Well, it's never that association. He's a firm, an attorney that does this kind of work, and I want to give you guys some ammo, some kung fu if stuff happens to you like I explained in the last segment about charging you while it's under warranty, trying to blame you for stuff that obviously is a mechanical defect, a engineering defect, and again, I'm pretty zoomed in on the cars here, so if he's listening, let's get that scheduled, let's get that set up, and you know what, let's have some fun with that. Okay, for Hutcast again, signing off, checking out, have a great night. Thanks, everybody, for listening.
And that's a wrap for Hutcast. Hutcast is, again, a pragmatic approach to seeing things how some people see them. If you like our show, give us a thumbs up on the Facebook site. Again, for Hutcast, thank you again. Have a wonderful evening.